a couple other claims also happened in the same general neighborhood to a 2015 Mercedes G63 AMG and a 2022 Mercedes E350.
Are these all neighbors?
I think they're all neighbors.
And friends. Quick, get your bear costumes out. We're going to go do insurance fraud, they said.
Now, granted, $141,000 for your aging luxury vehicles. Ugh. I don't know, and that ties into why I think they did this. Look at that. A 2010 Rolls-Royce Ghost. All right. This is a heavily depreciating asset. This is a considerably...
It is not an asset. It is a risk.
It is a liability is what it is.
This thing is not going good with nothing.
Same with the 2015 Mercedes G63. Another depreciating asset.
That depreciated pretty much the moment you signed the paperwork on it.
Now, granted, the 2022 E350 could be... the thing is, and this isn't even including luxury cars, but just your standard run-of-the-mill cars, the rule of thumb is the second you drive it off of the dealership lot, 15% out the window.
Unless it's a rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive Toyota.
That's true. That's true. But just remember, if you go over 80 miles an hour, your warranty claims won't get paid by Toyota.
A GR Corolla joke?
From Olympic City and the home of Pikes Peak, this is the Automotive ADHD Show with Matt West.
And here we are, rocking it on the Automotive ADHD Show. Matt West here, hanging out with you, talking cars with a special guest you recognize now here in studio. His name is Jim Miller. He is just a guy, and he likes cars. What do you think, Jim?
I do like cars. You are correct.
And Jim and I are going to talk about, well, some more SEMA Toyota stuff. SEMA has wrapped up, and I've been waiting to have Jim in studio to talk about this because he is the Toyota god himself. So he is here. He's present in the room. We're going to talk about Toyotas. We're also going to talk a little bit about how to not conduct insurance fraud and how, let's just say, somebody barely got away with it.
Just barely.
Just barely.
Yeah, they didn't.
They didn't get away with it. But also, $40,000. Would you pay $40,000 for a Nissan badge? For the badge,
no,
not the Nissan.
I don't think there's even really a Nissan I'd pay $40,000 for, personally speaking. That's
neither. Just
me, though. I'm not a Nissan guy. So
if you watch this show, you are well versed, in my opinion, on Nissans and how I think that Carlos Ghosn, former Nissan CEO, ruined everything, including my Toyota. And it's not even a Nissan, but it's still his fault. So anyway, we're going to get to all of that, play some of your car sounds,
when
and
in
more.
doubt, blame Ghosn. It's Ghosn's fault.
Is there still a bounty on Ghosn's head?
I have no idea. We should probably find out one of these times.
I mean, we probably should. And let me look this up.
Wasn't he smuggled out in a box on a plane?
He was. That's a great story. We should do that. We should discuss that at some point. I don't know if there's... Okay, Nissan shareholder proposes $13 million bounty on his return. I don't know how current that is, but if you need to fund some project car stuff, we should assemble a team.
Be a goon, find the Ghosn. All right? That's how you
I love it.
That's how you fund up some projects right there.
So, anyway, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about this, Jim, and I mentioned this before the show, but hobbies. If you know that, we both share a similar hobby. We both do, and that is, of course, making financially irresponsible decisions is a light way to put it, with cars, with old cars.
Yes.
You maybe even more so than me. I mean, you've got me outnumbered probably 10-1 on cars. I'm at 7. What are you at?
I don't want to talk about it.
More than 7.
Yes, maybe.
More than 7.
I could or couldn't be possibly having more than 7 vehicles.
Possibly more than 7. But you always got to wonder, too, right? The question is with hobbies. What hobbies? And maybe we think about this. Maybe we don't. Somebody thought about this, though. What hobbies do women find attractive in men?
It's not car hobbies. I'm going to tell you right now. Cars just attract other men.
I have a list. I have a list of hobbies. Let's see if cars is on this list. Top list right here. Here we go. Number 1.
Why are we starting at 1? Don't we ever supposed to start with the thing and get up to 1?
Okay, fine.
Is it the top 10?
There's 15 of them.
15?
15 of them.
Okay.
Okay. 15, traveling.
Yeah, you can get on a plane to drive somewhere. Yeah, that sounds like a great hobby.
You could travel somewhere in a car.
You can walk somewhere traveling. So I guess cars are involved in this. So
Sort
it
of.
could be car-ish.
Sort of.
All right, we'll count how many are actually car-ish.
Let's see.
Related.
Number 14, blacksmithing, which I heated up some metal and bent it when I was working on my car. It was maybe not intentional. So I think I'm a blacksmith.
We'll count it. I'm going to count it. It's 2.
Let's see. Archery is number 13.
You can shoot a bow and arrow from a vehicle. If Genghis Khan can do it from a horse, you can do it from a car or a truck.
I agree.
We're going to count it.
Yeah, we're going to count that. So we're currently 4 for 4. Yeah, that's 4 for 4. Now the next one is hiking.
You can hike to a car.
You can hike to a car.
And you can hike from a car. We're going to count it.
Yep. So that's going to be 5 for 5
What are
there.
we at? What number are we on?
We're now to 11, which is astronomy.
Okay. You can have a sunroof and look at the stars from a car.
Yes, you can.
We're going to count it.
We're going to count that. Next one, photography. You know where this is going.
You can take pictures of cars, from a car, to a car, away from a car. We're going to count it.
I've met a number of automotive photographers.
There's a lot of automotive photographers.
Jared, by the way, who does some of the video editing for the show, he does some photography. Shout out to Jared, by the way. He does some nice pictures of cars. But also, I mean, I've seen guys hanging out of the cars on freeways. Like hanging out
taking
camera,
pictures
taking
of other
rolling
cars.
shots of other cars, like a supercar or something. I mean, they're risking life and limb to do this.
Rear hatches open on SUVs and stuff, taking pictures and video and filming stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Now here we get down to number 9, which is swimming. Typically, here's the thing though, if you're typically swimming in the car, something's gone really wrong and you've driven into a lake.
It is possible though, so we're going to count it.
We're going to count it.
It's counted.
So that's counted. Gardening. Have you seen the dashboard chia pets?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
Wasn't that one of the weird Volkswagen things that came with a plant too?
I don't know on that, but I bet it did.
When they came back with the Archie Volkswagen commercials and they had the plant in that little holder, that was a whole thing. So, yes, we're going to count it. You can garden from a car.
Yep, you can garden from a car. So there we go. Now, writing. You can certainly write in a car, but you can also write about cars.
You can write on a car. Some cars get signatures signed by other famous car drivers or builders and so forth. So we're going to count it.
Yep, that counts there. So moving on. Painting, that's an obvious one. Bodywork and paint, clear, obvious choice there.
Definitely a car thing.
Yeah, just we can move on from that one. That one's so obvious.
That was too easy to count.
And then there's woodworking. We're down to the now top 5.
There are vehicles
5
made out of wood.
Yes, and if you look into the history of the wood-paneled wagon, the station wagon, they started out with actual wood. So
yes, they did.
They did. And weird historical note, apparently way back in the day, there was some sort of fungus in the wood. There's one of these wood mills where they were cutting the wood for wood-paneled station wagons. And I think this is like late 40s or early 50s. And apparently that made it into a bunch of cars, and everyone got sick from it.
All right.
So, well, it's historical side note. Woodworking. Fungus and all. Cooking. I would like to think every car guy has at one point attempted to cook something with their car.
You could technically do it with a cigarette lighter if you have an older vehicle that has a cigarette lighter still.
Oh, no, I've been camping. You can wrap stuff up in tinfoil and throw it on the exhaust manifold, drive around a bit.
Yeah.
Got a toasty meal right there.
Yeah.
So, and we all know this.
I saw the Goofy movie, and that's what it made me think of, the cigarette lighter trying to cook a can of food.
Yeah. Yeah, and we all know women love guys who can cook. If you're a guy who can cook, you're doing a lot better than the rest of us.
Counted.
So counted. Playing an instrument. This is twofold, I think, because sure, the obvious answer is you can play an instrument in a car.
But Yamaha makes a lot of heads and puts a lot of effort into the sound of vehicles to where it's almost an art and musical in itself. Henceforth, it is what? That's
It
right.
is playing an
Counted.
instrument. Yep, we counted. We're down to the top 2. Foreign languages. And this is, oh man, this is great because, I mean, for one, cars are sold around the world.
Yes.
Around the world. And I was even telling you this, Jim, that at one point in the past when I was in college, I got the idea that I wanted to be a car importer, specifically from Japan. So I took and mostly passed, barely,
Mostly passed.
3 semesters of Japanese in college. Can I speak a lick of it today? No, it's been years. I would be horrible at it. I might say something really bad. I also only know swear words in Japanese. Those are the only ones I remember now. But it still counts. And
How to ask for illegal stuff and say bad words. That's all I know of another language.
Exactly.
That's very American of you, sir.
Yep.
Guess what, though?
But it counts.
Counted.
It counts. Here we go. 30 seconds left. Number 1, reading. Girls like a guy who can read.
I can read my gauge cluster. Can you?
Counted.
Counted.
Boom. Yes.
What does this say? All hobbies involve cars. Women dig cars. Men like cars. So women dig men with cars.
Let me know how that works for you. We'll be back on Automotive ADHD in just a minute. So you know what's funny about that? So last week I said I wasn't allowed to say who sent those in because reasons, and that you shouldn't do that. And yet here it is again on my show. Here it is again on my show. So you better be happy with yourself. You know who you are. You know exactly who you are. And he's laughing to himself right now. So anyway, by the way, you can send those car sounds into the show, facebook.com/automotive ADHD. Send them in there. Have a chance to win. Jim, do you have yours? The keychain.
I have it in my GX470 right now, actually, sitting in there because I just have the fob so I can remote start because it's actually very chilly today.
Yes, it is.
I failed otherwise, but it was a good reason for leaving it in there. Less keys, more remote start.
And in other news, so you can win one of these. Also, the sticker. Jim, the sticker this week in the studio is still missing. Your
It is.
Jim Miller for Mayor sticker has not returned. So whoever
If you don't vote for me, you're not a car guy. It is missing. Election
missing.
interference, we're calling.
Definitely election interference now. I know when's the next mayoral election? It's going to be a little bit.
Oh, I think we got a couple years till that happens
So
again.
this just means that this is early election interference. That's exactly what this is.
I'm a threat to the system.
Yep. So if you're a car guy and you don't vote for Jim Miller, well, you're not a car guy. So and you better vote, even if you don't live here in Colorado Springs. You better vote for Jim Miller. So
Nice.
Anyway, I don't know if I said it earlier. You are listening to the Automotive ADHD show. I am Matt West. Across the board for me is honorary co-host of the show. He's been on this show a whole lot now. Jim Miller, just a guy, and he did run for mayor last time, and he's going to run for mayor again.
That's what it's looking like.
That's the plan, at least. So, anyway, now, Jim, one of the things I wanted to touch on in this segment here is a Dodge Viper. All right. So, this is not just any Dodge Viper. This is a Dodge Viper that has been mounted on a dealership sign for 28 years. So, you know how you drive by places and you see like a car on top of the sign?
Yeah, the old school dealerships, 70s, 80s, 90s thing. There'd be a car like on a building or on a sign or.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And it's almost always either completely gutted or like a fiberglass recreation.
I believe we have a Porsche downtown here, half of a Porsche mounted on a building here in the Springs, actually.
We do.
Which
right
is
off
kind of
of
neat.
Tejon, I believe.
Yes, it is Tejon, close to the courthouse, across from Springs Utilities.
Yes, that is very true.
And then at night, the lights do come on it. I'm trying to remember. I think all the lights come on at night when they do it. And it looks pretty cool, actually. I like it. I think it is kind of a neat little thing of just being popped up, a car on a building or a sign.
I've always thought it's very cool. But again, almost every time the car is either a shell of its former self, no drivetrain, nothing, or it's a total recreation, right?
Yeah.
This is a Dodge Viper, and this is one of the first-gen Vipers, I believe. It's got the toupe top on it.
Okay.
So the weird little top, the like sort of fabric Jeep windows on the side.
Yeah, I was going to ask if it had a top on it or not, because those first gens were basically just convertibles.
Yeah, but this has the weird like toupee top.
Roadster looking, very large roadster looking things.
It is. They recently took it off the dealership that has this. And so for some context, this is in, where is this in? Kentucky, Henderson, Kentucky. And it's a Chrysler dealership. And this car has been a staple of the local community, and everyone thinking, like we typically do, okay, it's probably a fiberglass reproduction. They took it down, and it's not. In fact, it has the engine, everything. It is a complete Viper, 100%, as it drove off the showroom floor, and they just decided to take it from the showroom floor and put it up on the sign.
Wow.
1996. Completely original. Presumably very few miles, I would assume.
They probably got like 4 miles on it from just being moved and transported.
And so what's crazy about this
is... Are they selling it?
No, they brought it down just to clean it up so they can put it back up there.
Oh, wow.
Because
they're putting a new top on it?
They're putting a new top on it. They're doing a few different things with it. They're replacing the side windows because they're the fabric, sort of thing. Again, kind of like a Jeep Wrangler.
Tune up, an oil change, dry rotted tires, new tires.
Right. And what's crazy, though, is seeing some of the pictures of this. We'll roll them in the video here. Now, Jim, I didn't tell you about this ahead of time, so I didn't show you the pictures. But here, I'll pass you the laptop here. Take a look at that.
Is that a bird's nest?
That's a bird's nest in that engine bay.
That is a Dodge Viper bird's nest. That is fantastic. And I know that you're going to chop this in with the other video, but in case... That is a lot of bird's nest. That is a Dodge Viper bird nest. That is a fancy bird, I can tell you that.
I'm telling you, that bird has good taste. A nice first-gen Viper.
That's a very raw vehicle, too, honestly. Let's not lie. If you can't drive, don't get a first-gen Viper. I'm sorry to tell you, it ruins someone's dreams.
Be careful when you get out of it, that you don't burn your delicate legs on the exhaust there.
Your delicate stems.
If you burn your legs on the exhaust, it probably means you're not meant to drive that car, by the way. I'm just throwing that out there.
I would concur.
If you burn your legs, I burnt my legs, and then, no, you don't deserve it. You don't deserve it. Anyway.
Stay off of motorcycles, too, while you're at it.
The dealership here, by the way, they're refurbishing the car. They're going to repaint it, and they're going to put it back up there. To the chagrin, though, of a lot of Viper enthusiasts who are like, man, let us drive it. Sell it to someone who's going to drive it. But in a weird way, I'm always a proponent of driving cars, but sometimes you get a weird one-off like this that's such a local celebrity in the area. I almost feel like it should go back up there.
It's kind of a time capsule that should just be left, especially if it's a staple of the community in the area, in my opinion, historically speaking.
Absolutely. I think it should go back up there. And
I kind of think it should have a box around it or something to keep it clear and a little more protected, but
I would maybe modify the air vents on it, like where these birds got in, plug them up.
Plug up all the vents and then, the HVAC stuff, all the heat and element, all that.
Right. And I have a feeling, and on this article here, at least from what I found, I didn't find any pictures of the interior, but I know those little soft top style windows on the side leak really bad.
And there's probably a fancy rat or mouse living in there as well.
Most likely. So I bet there's
Or an adventurous raccoon.
I bet there may be an adventurous raccoon, and I bet there's some flavorful mold in there. So, but I think this should go back up. Interesting stuff there. Hot take, though?
I can almost smell the mold when you mentioned it.
Hot take, though?
Oh, man.
I don't think the first gen is the best Viper.
No.
I don't think it is. I think the second gen is the best Viper. The third gens are terrible. The fourth gens are cool, but they're too expensive. Second gen all day. Second gen GTS. Okay. I'll die on that hill.
Okay.
I'll die on that hill.
That's your shot of whiskey, not mine. So, but I get what you're saying. A little more affordable, a little more refined, yada, yada.
Exactly.
A little more polished. Some of the bugs worked out. I got you.
Now,
better top, too.
It's got that beautiful fastback, that nice roof line, reminiscent of the old Shelby Daytonas.
Yeah.
It kind of looks like that. Yeah. So, now...
Still pretty raw. Still have to know how to drive to use it.
Oh, plenty raw. Yeah. Still pre-traction control. So,
Man, could you imagine some kid nowadays stealing something like that and then trying to drive? They get like 2 feet and take it like a Mustang into a crowd and a building.
Oh no, they're not even gonna get. They're not even gonna get 2 feet. They're gonna be like, why does it have 3 brake pedals? What's going on? Two brake pedals.
What's with the 2 brake pedals?
Yeah. The best anti-theft device. I mean, look, you have
modern age cipher codes is written in cursive, and theft prevention devices are manual transmissions. So you're good to go. Just write something in cursive. They won't know what it says, and then have a manual transmission, and they're not going to know how to get it out.
Oh, man. So anyway, there you go. Now, another thing we got to get to here. I alluded to this at the top of the show, and this is this is a fun one, by the way. And this comes by way of KXAN out of California, or correction, make that KTLA. They're the original ones who reported this. And KTLA says that a bear attacked luxury car was actually a man in costume, insurance investigators say. So this is a twisted web of things that have happened. And essentially what it boils down to.
I'm curious. So they say luxury car. Do they really mean a luxury car? Or is this someone that's got a Lincoln Continental thinking it's fancy? Or
no, it's a Rolls. It's a Rolls.
Oh,
actually.
okay. Yeah, so it is an actual luxury car.
Yeah, it's a well.
I'm glad I asked. By definition, standard price and company, it's considered a luxury car.
It is considered.
I don't like them, but
I wouldn't personally have one. But here's the thing: 2010 Rolls-Royce Ghost. It's a 2010. So
it's already 14 years old.
And this ties into what's going on here. And we'll roll some footage here as well. And we'll probably carry this over into the next segment. But going through here, a couple of guys, a 26-year-old, a 39-year-old, and a 32-year-old, all decided to participate in, well, what is honestly insurance fraud. And the police department in California decided to start investigating this after several insurance companies said, hey, we got some weird claims that had bear damage in the vehicles.
Which city was this again?
This came out of, let me pull it up here. It's in California. And let's see if I have the city here.
I'm just saying it's like somewhere.
It was just Los Angeles. So it's Los Angeles.
I'm trying to think of the last time there was a bear attack in Los Angeles. So
this might be more plausible, by the way, if you lived in, I don't know, Alaska?
Well, Northern California. California,
maybe. Maybe.
Even San Francisco does have the redwoods. I mean, I'm just saying there is some stuff where there's some more vegetation, but...
Right. Now, what they say here, the report goes on to say, vehicle owners told their insurance company that, and this happened to more than one vehicle. That's how multiple guys are tied into this.
Oh,
what? But we'll get into that. But they say, vehicle owners told their insurance company that a bear entered the 2010 Rolls-Royce Ghost in Lake Arrowhead, which I guess is a fancy subdivision nearby there. You're from California, so you may know that area better. And they say causing extensive interior damage. They even provided video footage of the supposed incident.
I bet that helped. I'm just kidding. It didn't.
What's funny is the video shows what kind of looks like a bear, inside this Rolls Royce. It's security camera footage. It's kind of black and white at night, And what I find amazing about this is it shows this bear rummaging around, supposed bear. But the bear, by the way, was smart enough to turn the overhead dome lights on, which I thought that was interesting.
Providing the footage was probably the dumbest thing they could have done. Don't do insurance fraud, kid. This is stupid.
This is very stupid. Now, what's even crazier is the insurance investigators decided this looks a little fishy. So they hired a biologist to take a look at the footage.
It was probably cheaper than the claim.
And the biologist goes, yeah, that's clearly a dude in a bear suit.
We have a Bigfoot incident here going on right now, just out of focus. Turns the dome light off. He's like, it's a Bigfoot suit. That guy.
Now, we're going to continue this story here into the next segment, so you don't want to go anywhere. But they even raided this guy's house. This story goes deeper, and I'll tell you why they probably wanted to do this and why you shouldn't do that. All of that is coming up here. You're listening to Automotive ADHD. Don't go anywhere.
He's the nut behind the wheel and behind the mic. This is Automotive ADHD with Matt West.
Yes, it is. And Jim Miller, just the guy. And Jim, it's about time we get you your own open on the show. I promise that's in the works.
Ooh, fancy.
That is in the works. So maybe I'll have to surprise you with it here soon. It's going to be good.
I'll be professional then. I have my own headphones and my own intro.
You do. And I'm not going to show you the intro until it's live on the air. So we'll get a live reaction there. So
nice.
Now, before the break, we were talking about how insurance fraud probably, well, you shouldn't do it in the first place, but perhaps one of the ways you really wouldn't want to do it. This is up there in one of the stupidest things you could probably do. This has got to be like the plot out of a movie. This is like some Dumb and Dumber level of stuff here, in my opinion. But
I think Dumb and Dumb is better.
I do.
Smarter,
actually. Still smarter than this.
Yes.
Still smarter than this. And if you're just joining us, we're talking about how a few guys decided to take a bear costume and dress up as a bear, ransack the interior of their Rolls Royce, and then to get security footage of it and submit an insurance claim to their insurance company.
Don't forget on the security footage, it does show them turning the dome light off. For good measure. Don't want that battery to die.
Well, and also just
what a helpful bear.
Just remember that, a bear's going to remember to turn the light on when they come in. Bear's like, hold on, I can't see
it's
in
like
here.
a Winnie the Pooh bear costume, it sounds like. It sounds hilarious. It sounds like a Winnie the Pooh bear costume. Oh, Bubba. It's like, what?
Yep. And so where we finished off in the last segment, and if you're, like I said, if you're just joining us, this is gold. The police, after the insurance company said that, this looks fishy, and hired a biologist to determine that this was a dude in a bear suit. Police executed a search warrant at one suspect's home, and they found the bear costume, the smoking gun. It was just there. They had it out along with some like metal claw things. You would use it like if you're pulling like barbecue meat or whatever. There are those like cooking, those sort of things you would use
to make shredded beef or something.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
Kind of goofy.
And so they found that. And what's interesting is after doing that and launching an investigation, they discovered that a couple other claims also happened in the same general neighborhood to a 2015 Mercedes G63 AMG and a 2022 Mercedes E350.
Are these all neighbors?
I think they're all neighbors.
And friends. Quick, get your bear costumes out. We're going to go do insurance fraud, they said.
Yep.
Hold on. Hold my beer.
Apparently, before they got caught,
idiots.
I don't know if the insurance company ever actually paid out on the Rolls Royce, but on the others, it turns out they did manage to defraud the insurance companies collectively, between the group of them, about $141,000.
What the fun?
Yeah. Now, granted, $141,000 for your aging luxury vehicles. I don't know. And that ties into why I think they did this. Look at that. A 2010 Rolls-Royce Ghost. All right. This is a heavily depreciating asset. This is a considerably...
It is not an asset. It is a risk.
It is a liability is what it is.
This thing is not going good with nothing.
Same with a 2015 Mercedes G63.
Depreciating.
Depreciating asset.
That depreciated pretty much the moment you signed the paperwork on it.
Now, granted, the 2022 E350 could be... the thing is, and this isn't even including luxury cars, but just your standard run-of-the-mill cars, the rule of thumb is the second you drive it off of the dealership lot, 15% out the window.
Unless it's a rear-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, or four-wheel drive Toyota.
That's true. That's true. But just remember, if you go over 80 miles an hour, your warranty claims won't get paid by Toyota.
GR Corolla joke? Nice job, bud.
I've been getting one of those in every show. But anyway, so, look, this is why I think this is going on. I mean, you have depreciating assets here. I think somebody was upside down on a Rolls Royce. That's what I think. I think they were deep into the negative equity on this thing.
Ooh, little inflation, little Bidenomics, lost their job, didn't want their ghost no more. They're like, let's ghost the ghost.
Ghost the ghost. That's exactly what happened. I mean, and when you look at it here, now I didn't find this number beforehand, but if I pull this up, it could depend on the options, obviously, but a Rolls-Royce Ghost, let's see if we can just find one real quick here and see what it's generally worth. Does Blue Book do Rolls-Royces? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think I'd ever buy one. I don't like them. A better option, more affordable, much better vehicle, I would recommend a Toyota Century from Japan, to be very frank, if you want a affordable luxury vehicle that's probably going to have a little more durability.
I'm finding a couple listings here. Let's see here. $69,000.
For a 2010?
For a 2010.
Gross.
Now, this is a car with a original MSRP of a heck of a lot more than that.
Half of a house or a whole house?
Definitely a whole house.
A whole house.
Definitely a whole house. And So, I mean, look at it this way. You have this thing, and you might be, we don't know what he paid for it. Don't know if he bought it new. Doubt it. But you have this car that's, you probably have several six-figure, multiples rolled up into this car. And if you bought it new, and suddenly you come into a point where it needs expensive maintenance, stuff is wrong with it. It's only worth $60,000, and I can say only $60,000 in this case. $60,000 is a lot of money, but in this case, that vehicle has depreciated like 90% of its original value.
I don't know. I don't have a lot to say because these are no vehicles that I would ever choose to purchase or waste my Chuck E. Cheese tickets on gotten. So It's not anything I have any interest in. I'm kind of curious about the lion or the bear costume, excuse me.
Yes.
Did they make it, or was it like something from Spirit Halloween?
This looks very Spirit Halloween. And because you haven't seen it here, I'll show it to you on the laptop there.
It's like the Three Bears
there you go.
type. Oh, what is this?
Yep. If you're watching on video, of course, if you're on the radio, you're not seeing this, but you can check it out on YouTube. That looks
like a Super Troopers bear costume, and if you've ever seen the movie, you know exactly why I'm referencing the Super Troopers bear. That's what it looks like.
Here's the other thing I have to point out on this. This is the damage they inflicted. I mean, they used the little claw things. That's the damage they did. Have you...
Little scratches? That looks like fingernail scratches.
And they're perfectly straight scratches. Have you ever seen a bear? I don't think these guys
will just get the snacks. They don't care. They're not going straight. If there's an M&M and they want that M&M and it's in a seat cushion on a vehicle, they will take the whole seat, part of the metal out to get that damn M&M. They don't care. They will get the M&M and not be gracious about it at all. Yeah, these look like scratch marks from like a 4-year-old. That's just like, or like you moved a car seat or something, or a booster seat for a small kid. This is ridiculous. A bear is very, very unforgiving and doesn't care. It's not caring about the materials. It just wants to get what the bear wants to get.
This looks like this bear probably wanted to drive this car in luxury and comfort still after the fact.
I don't want to mess it up too bad. I just want to get inside and turn the dome light off. With my Spirit Halloween bear costume. That was reminiscent from Super Troopers.
So anyway, these guys are gonna, they're facing in total $141,000 in insurance fraud, and insurance fraud is a crime.
Yes, don't do it. It's dumb.
Probably go to prison, and they will be sitting there in prison, and someone's gonna go, "Hey, what you in for?" Like, "Yeah, I got in a bear costume and I tore up the interior of my Rolls Royce." Oh. Okay.
Somebody's getting their cocktail fruit taken. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah. Anyway, so I don't think it's going to end well for these guys. Be smarter than this. Firstly, the first mistake that was made here was buying a Rolls Royce. That was the first mistake that was made here.
Yes.
As well as a Mercedes. Actually, all of them.
Somebody was, with these vehicle purchases, somebody was trying to impress a girl that has no interest in them.
And they clearly didn't listen to the first segment of this show because we would have told them what they would have needed to have done to impress a girl.
Yes.
And this is not it.
No.
On our list, dressing up as a bear and committing insurance fraud was not on our list.
It was not in the top 15 hobbies that were car-related.
It was not. So, anyway, now I got to move on to some more sensible financial decisions. Ones, of course, that won't be warranted past 80 miles an hour, but they are more sensible than this. And we're going to only have just a minute here to get into it. So I want to ask before we do that, Jim, did you have a chance to see anything that was coming out of SEMA earlier this month?
Very little, to be honest. I had a friend go. I've never been, and I got to see some pictures of some things and some concepts of some possible new Toyota stuff that may or may not be getting ready for production.
Toyota likes to tease us with stuff. I talked about that last week. We're going to talk about more of it and get Jim's take on it. That's right here after the break. You are listening to Automotive ADHD. Don't go anywhere. And you are listening to the Automotive ADHD show. I am Matt West, hanging out with you, talking cars on the weekend with just a guy, Jim Miller. And by the way, those car sounds, congratulations to the birthday guy himself for sending those in. And he should have something on the way in the mail. So
nice. Congratulations.
Keep an eye out for that. Now,
happy birthing anniversary.
Birthing anniversary. I like it. So, Toyota, we've talked about Toyota on this show. Probably every episode of this show has mentioned Toyota in one.
Something about Toyota we do bring up.
One way or another.
We might be Toyota fanatics.
I have been accused of being such before. I've been accused of worse.
A little bit biased for the Toyotas, yes.
But yes, Toyotas nonetheless. And so at SEMA's wrapped up now. It's been, another week since they wrapped up the show. And I went to SEMA last year, and I took you along on the show while I attended SEMA. We had great interviews. We had Amir Bentatu on. Wesley Kagan joined us for the whole thing.
We're planning next year to go,
We're planning next year. Yeah, we're planning next year.
We're doing a lot more out of the studio stuff.
Yeah. This year, it didn't make sense with all the other things going on. Couldn't make it happen this year. But that's okay because we still can take a look at some of the cars that were there and some of the great things that I think Toyota's teasing us with. Now, I talked last week about the Rally all-wheel drive GR86.
Okay.
I discussed that one already, and you heard my thoughts on the show last week on that. But there was more, actually. I was holding back on you. I was actually just waiting for Jim to be here because I want his take on this. And
waiting on me.
Waiting on you to get through traffic or something. So
to have a moment.
If you're stuck in traffic, it's Jim's fault, by the way. No, I'm kidding. So driving a K truck on the freeway. So
what are you doing? It's going on 38. Yeah.
So
sounds like me.
Toyota has what's called the ROX, ROX concept. And it is a topless, as it should be, Land Cruiser. And I really like this. Now, I sent you some links and some pictures of it. And you recently bought a Land Cruiser. Or, a Lexus.
Fancier Land Cruiser, but a GX470. Yes.
GX470, the Lexus flavor.
I made an arrangement to get one. I was chasing it for probably about 10 years, and a couple of my friends had it, and finally got my grubby mitts on it because I like the 3 rows of seats because I have kids, and it makes it more fun to have them having plenty of spots to sit at and a little less cramped and not yelling in my ear about ponies and Star Wars all the time.
Yeah, they got a little bit of distance. They're yelling at you from here instead of right here.
Just a bit, yes.
Yeah. So we all love the Land Cruiser, I think. I don't know of anyone who actually doesn't. Even like Jeep guys and stuff who are diehard Jeep guys. I've never heard, there's always a Land Cruiser stuck on the trail. No, there isn't. It doesn't happen.
I have a couple different Land Cruisers, actually, yeah. I do like them. They are good.
Just saying. So now SEMA, of course, is where all of this great aftermarket stuff happens. SEMA does great political advocacy, too, for car enthusiasts. I've talked about that at length.
Which makes me appreciate SEMA and should make a lot of us appreciate SEMA compared to it just being an event.
Correct. It's not just a car show. They do stuff year round that saves that saves things for car enthusiasts. So, and if you are interested and inclined to learn about the work they do, going forward, I've been including a link to their website at every show, every podcast at least. So if you're inclined, that is available for you there. But with the show, Toyota brings out fun things. And this is kind of, it makes me wonder why they always tease us with stuff that everyone goes, yeah, that's cool. I want that. But then they don't ever seem to make it. Like, when was the last topless?
Because Toyota's basically the stripper of the car manufacturers. Let's be honest about it. They're like, hey, just a little, give me another $1. Yeah, baby. Maybe tomorrow. I might love you later. And you're like, thanks, Toyota.
Yep. And, I think that, when was the last time there was a topless Land Cruiser? Like a removable top Land Cruiser.
FJ40s.
FJ40s.
Yeah, I have an FJ40, and that's just it. That's it. None of the other Land Cruisers that I can think of, I don't think.
Well, this one is...
No, that's it. FJ40.
Exactly that. Now, it has over 50% of the body's been reworked on this thing. They've added a really cool light bar, but most importantly, it's got a retractable roof that comes back. It's sort of got
this... Is it canvas?
It's got,
soft top?
Kinda. It's not quite a soft top, but it's more of like a motorized... I'm trying to equate it to something. It's kind of like how Jeep has on some of their higher trim models. It's a soft top, but it's really a hard top, but the soft top is just a fabric bit that slides back within that. That's basically what it is. And that notoriously, by the way, does not work well on some of the Jeeps. Like, it doesn't age well. The mechanism for that doesn't. But with all of that, I mean... the fact that you have things like this, and this looks like it could easily be a production vehicle, I think that that's neat. And I, of course, think that ties into how Toyota will be like, hey, you like this? Yeah. Everyone like this? You like that? Yeah, you liked it too?
Right.
Cool. We're not going to give it to you. But
Or it'll be everywhere but here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a favorite too.
Yeah.
You're well
Canada,
versed.
Mexico, and you're like, I can see it across the border. Fantastic.
Yeah, sure. We've got, like, for example, the Tacomas here, but we don't have the Hiluxes here.
No, and that would have been awesome. I would have got a couple of them for sure.
Yeah, the Hiluxes are great. Now, that goes back historically to the chicken tax. Mm-hmm. That goes back to the chicken tax. That's the whole reason. Not that this is a history show necessarily, but that chicken tax is the whole reason the Subaru Brat had little plastic back seats in it.
Sure did.
So it was a SUV.
Yep.
So...
technicalities.
Yes.
Brings forth innovation. The more rules with cars, the more innovation we tend to get sometimes.
Yep. Now, there's another Toyota concept I want to get your take on here. Right. And this one, I kind of hold this one near and dear to me because it reminds me considerably of my first car, which is the 4Runner TRD Surf Edition.
Okay.
And Surf is a play on the Hilux Surf. The Hilux Surf was, here in the United States, the 4Runner. But the first-gen 4Runner, think back to the first gens. You had the fiberglass top that came off on the back. It was basically a Toyota pickup with just back seats.
The very, very first ones, if I do remember correctly, were a dealership option, and it was so good and so popular that it became a manufacturer option, and that's what brought forth the 4Runner.
Yeah, and
that's streamlining it real quick, but that is essentially what happened.
Well, and once again, it was another way to get around, I think, the chicken tax. You take a Toyota pickup, you put a topper on it, and you bolt some seats in the back. You got an SUV now, but you also just created at the time an SUV when SUVs were like a new thing.
Sort of. There were still Broncos.
And Broncos and Jeeps.
Stouts and Jeeps and, yeah.
But, I mean, you take something that has utility and you put it together. Now, I showed you the picture of this before the show.
Did. It looks... I like the way it looks, honestly. It's got one of the... It's kind of got a retro future thing. Kind of the future was yesterday kind of look to it is the best way I can even articulate it. It looks good. I'm actually interested in it. If it is going to be here, I'm hoping it is, and I hope it's something that comes to production. It looks good. It looks good. And
it does.
I think if they got it in a manual and a 4-wheel drive option, and it might be worth touching, whether it's a 4-cylinder or 6-cylinder or a V8. I'm interested in any option. Heck, it could be a straight 6, and I would still be interested in it.
100%. Now, it's going to use... It shares a lot of existing 4Runners, so I can tell you it's already a 4-cylinder. And granted, this is a concept, so... You know, what they do with these concepts, though, people say, well, why are you talking about concepts? They're never going to make them. They're never going to make them. And what manufacturers do is they gauge reaction to the concepts, though. They very seriously do it. Do you think they just make these because they look cool? No, it's not, for one, it's a marketing thing. But for two, it is absolutely so they can gauge the public's reaction to this. And
it's a Nelson family touch base kind of thing. Like, what does everybody think? Good idea or bad idea? That's really what it is. It's a cheap way to gauge interest or what people may or may not want to look at or see or purchase. They're in a business to do business, so
yeah. And you, the consumer, have to let them know what you want. You got to vote with your wallet, and they say, a lot of people really want this. Why don't we start making one? If we think we can make a dime doing it, we will.
Heck, if they can make a penny or a nickel doing it, enough of those pennies and nickels adds up, and they will produce and make what you have interest in to buy and purchase.
Yep, just don't go over 80 miles an hour with it. So, anyway, we're out of time here. We'll talk about at a later date. I think we'll push our topic with the $40,000 Nissan badge to a later date. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This has been the Automotive ADHD Show. See you next week.